The hospital hallway was cold and empty at 2 in the morning. Jennifer sat on a hard plastic chair, her body aching from exhaustion, her mind racing with worry. Through the small window in the door, she could see her baby girl lying in the incubator, surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed. Tubes ran from her tiny body, keeping her alive. The baby had arrived 6 weeks early. Jennifer had been working her evening shift at the diner when the pain started. She thought it was just stress at first. Money had been tight, tighter than ever, and she'd been picking up extra hours wherever she could. But then her water broke right there behind the counter, and everything became a blur of ambulance sirens and bright hospital lights. Now, 3 days later, her daughter was in the neonatal intensive care unit, and the doctors kept using words that made Jennifer's stomach twist. Respiratory distress, underdeveloped lungs, specialized treatment, critical care, and then there was the other word, the one that kept appearing on every form they pushed in front of her. Cost. Jennifer pulled her phone from her purse with shaking hands. The screen was cracked from when she'd dropped it last month and she hadn't had the money to fix it. She couldn't afford to fix a phone screen. How was she supposed to afford what the hospital was asking for? $180,000. The number felt impossible, unreal, like something from a different universe where people actually had that kind of money lying around. Her insurance had covered some of it, but they'd reached their limit. The hospital financial counselor had been sympathetic but firm. The baby needed specific treatments, specialized equipment, medications that cost more per dose than Jennifer made in a week. She'd already called her mother, who lived on Social Security and had nothing to give. Her sister had 3 kids of her own and was barely making rent. Her friends from work had been kind, offering prayers and well wishes, but none of them had money either. They were all in the same boat, working multiple jobs just to keep their heads above water. Jennifer opened her contacts list, her vision blurry with tears. She started scrolling, looking at every name, trying to think of anyone who might be able to help. Old co-workers, her former landlord, people she hadn't talked to in years. She felt pathetic, desperate, but what choice did she have? Her ex-husband's name appeared on the screen, and she felt a surge of anger so intense it made her hands shake harder. David had left when she was 5 months pregnant. Just packed his stuff one day and said he couldn't handle the responsibility. Couldn't handle it. As if she could. As if anyone ever felt ready for this. He'd blocked her number, refused to pay child support, and disappeared to another state. She'd tried to track him down through lawyers, but that cost money too. Money she didn't have. She kept scrolling, her thumb moving automatically, not really seeing the names anymore. Her eyes were too full of tears. Everything felt hopeless. How had her life come to this? She'd worked hard, always tried to do the right thing. She'd graduated high school, gotten a job, tried to build something stable, but one medical emergency, and it all came crashing down. Through the window, she watched a nurse adjust one of the tubes connected to her baby. The little girl looked so fragile, so impossibly small. She had Jennifer's nose, or at least Jennifer thought she did. It was hard to tell with all the medical equipment covering her face. Jennifer had already decided on a name. Lily. It meant rebirth, new beginnings. She'd read that in a baby name book she'd gotten from the library. She liked the idea of something beautiful growing from difficult circumstances. But Lily needed to survive first, and survival came with a price tag that might as well have been $1 million, or $1 billion. Jennifer wiped her eyes and started composing a message. Her fingers felt clumsy on the cracked screen. She knew this was humiliating. She knew people would judge her, think she should have been more prepared, had better insurance, made better choices. But those people weren't sitting in this hallway at 2 in the morning, watching their child fight for every breath. She typed slowly, trying to find the right words. How do you ask for help when you have no right to expect it? How do you explain that you're not looking for a handout, that you'd work for the rest of your life to pay it back if you had to? The message poured out of her, raw and desperate. She explained about the premature birth, about the medical bills, about having nowhere else to turn. She attached a photo of Lily in the incubator, hoping maybe seeing the baby would make someone feel something, do something, anything. Her thumb hovered over the send button. She looked at the name at the top of the screen, but her vision was too blurred to read it clearly. It didn't matter anyway. She was sending this message to a dozen people, anyone she could think of who might possibly help. She hit send. Then she sent it again to another contact, and another. She went through her entire list, not even caring anymore who it was going to. Old bosses, people from her apartment building, someone she'd met once at a community event. Everyone, anyone. By the time she finished, her phone battery was down to 15%. She hadn't eaten in hours. She couldn't remember the last time she'd slept. The hospital had offered her a cot in a family room, but she couldn't bring herself to leave this hallway. What if something happened while she was sleeping? What if the doctors needed her? A nurse came out of the NICU and Jennifer jumped to her feet. The nurse smiled kindly. She's doing okay right now. Her oxygen levels are stable. You should try to get some rest. Jennifer nodded. But she knew she wouldn't. She couldn't. Not while Lily was in there fighting. She sat back down, clutching her phone, staring at the screen like it might suddenly light up with a miracle. She'd sent those messages out into the void, like prayers thrown at an indifferent universe. She didn't really expect anything to come back. The hallway was silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sounds of hospital machinery. Jennifer closed her eyes, exhaustion pulling at her, but fear keeping her awake. Fear for her daughter. Fear of the bills that kept piling up. Fear of a future that seemed impossible to navigate. She didn't know that across the city, in a luxury apartment overlooking the skyline, someone was reading her message. She didn't know that her thumb, shaking with exhaustion and tears, had selected the wrong name from her contact list. She didn't know that the person receiving her desperate plea wasn't the friend from work she'd intended to message. She didn't know that her entire life was about to change. All she knew was that her baby was fighting for life, and she was willing to do anything, sacrifice anything, to save her. Even if it meant begging strangers for help. Even if it meant losing every last shred of her pride. Because that's what mothers do. They fight, they beg, they survive, and Jennifer wasn't going to stop fighting. Not now, not ever. Robert Chen was used to working late. At 62 years old, he'd built his technology company from nothing, and old habits died hard. Even now, with billions in the bank and a team of executives running daily operations, he still found himself reviewing reports at 2:30 in the morning. His penthouse office overlooked the city, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the lights below like scattered stars. Most people were asleep at this hour. Robert envied them sometimes. Sleep had never come easy to him, not since he was a boy. His phone buzzed on the mahogany desk. He almost ignored it. Most messages at this hour were automated alerts from his security system or updates from international offices in different time zones. But something made him pick it up. The message was from a number saved in his contacts as Jennifer Martinez. It took him a moment to place the name. Then he remembered. 6 months ago, his company had done a charity event at the community center downtown. He'd gone personally, shaking hands, meeting people. It was good for publicity, his PR team said. Show the human side of the billionaire. Jennifer had been serving coffee that day. They'd talked for maybe 5 minutes. She'd been polite, a little nervous, and he'd given her his card out of habit. He gave his card to lots of people. Most never used it. He'd saved her number when she'd sent a thank you text the next day. Something he did with everyone he met. You never knew when a connection might matter. But this message wasn't a thank you. This was something else entirely. Robert read it once. Then again. The words seemed to blur together. A premature baby. Medical bills. No insurance coverage left. $180,000. The message ended with an apology, saying she knew it was too much to ask, but she had nowhere else to turn. There was a photo attached. Robert opened it. The baby was tiny, impossibly tiny, surrounded by tubes and wires and machines. She couldn't have weighed more than a few pounds. Her eyes were closed, her chest rising and falling with help from a ventilator. She looked fragile, like she might disappear if you breathed too hard near her. Robert stared at that photo for a long time. 40 years ago, his sister had been born premature. 3 pounds, 2 ounces. His parents had been immigrants, working factory jobs, living in a 1-bedroom apartment with Robert and his 2 older brothers. They had no insurance, no savings, no connections. The hospital had done what they could, but there were treatments his sister needed that cost money they didn't have, specialized care, better equipment, things that might have saved her life. The doctors had been apologetic but firm. Without payment, there was only so much they could do. His sister lived for 6 days. Robert had been 12 years old. He could still remember holding her once, feeling how light she was, like holding air. He remembered his mother's face at the funeral, a grief so deep it seemed to hollow her out from the inside. That loss had changed everything. Robert had thrown himself into school, into learning, into building something that would make sure his family never felt that helpless again. Every business decision, every risk he'd taken, every hour of sleep he'd sacrificed, it all traced back to that tiny coffin and his mother's tears. He'd become successful beyond his wildest dreams. But he'd never forgotten where he came from. He'd never forgotten what it felt like to be powerless. Robert looked at the photo again. This baby, this Lily, she deserved better than what his sister got. Her mother deserved better than what his parents got. He pressed the intercom button on his desk. His assistant, Patricia, lived in the building and was always on call. Patricia, I need you up here now. Call Richard, too. Tell him it's urgent. Patricia arrived within 10 minutes, still in her bathrobe, looking concerned. Richard, his chief financial officer, took 15, wearing sweatpants and a confused expression. What's the emergency? Richard asked. Did something happen with the Tokyo merger? Robert handed them his phone, showing Jennifer's message and the photo. I need you to wire $2 million to this hospital immediately. And I need our legal team ready to handle any paperwork. I want this done in the next 30 minutes. Patricia and Richard exchanged glances. They'd worked with Robert long enough to know he didn't joke about money, but this was unusual even for him. $2 million, Richard said carefully. For someone you met once at a charity event? The baby needs $180,000. I'm sending $2 million because I want her to have the best care available, not just the minimum. I want specialists. I want the best equipment. I want whatever it takes. Patricia was already typing on her phone, pulling up hospital information. Which hospital? Robert read the name from Jennifer's message. St. Catherine's Medical Center, the NICU ward. Robert, Richard said slowly, I'm not questioning your generosity, but we should verify this is legitimate. There are scams. I know what scams look like, Robert cut him off. His voice was sharp, harder than he'd intended. He took a breath. I met this woman. She's real. That baby is real, and even if there was a 1% chance this was fake, which it isn't, I'd rather lose $2 million than let a child die because I was too cautious. Richard nodded and pulled out his phone. I'll handle the transfer personally. 30 minutes. Robert was already moving toward his private elevator, pulling on the suit jacket that had been draped over his chair. I'm going to the hospital. Patricia, call ahead. I want to speak with the hospital administrator tonight. Now. And get me Dr. Raymond Chen. Tell him I need his team ready to consult. It's almost 3 a.m, Patricia said. Then people better start waking up. The drive to the hospital took 20 minutes through empty city streets. Robert sat in the back of his car, his driver navigating quickly. He kept looking at that photo of the baby, something twisting in his chest that he hadn't felt in years. He wasn't a sentimental man. Couldn't afford to be, not in business. But there were some things that cut through all the walls he'd built, all the professional distance he maintained. A dying child was one of them. His phone rang. Patricia. The money's transferred. The hospital administrator is on her way in. She sounded confused, but she's coming. Dr. Chen is assembling his team. Good. Robert, the mother, Jennifer, does she know you're coming? He hadn't thought about that. In his mind, this was simple. Problem, solution, action. But Jennifer had sent that message to multiple people, probably. She wouldn't be expecting him specifically. She might not even remember giving him her number. Call her, Robert said. Tell her I'm on my way. Tell her not to worry about the money. What should I say when she asks why? Robert was quiet for a moment. Why was he doing this? He could list rational reasons. Tax deductions, good publicity, corporate social responsibility. But those were excuses, justifications he told himself to avoid the real answer. Tell her, he said finally, that I had a sister once. And this time I can actually do something about it. The car pulled up to the hospital emergency entrance. Robert stepped out into the cool night air. Security guards looked surprised to see a man in an expensive suit arriving at this hour. But they didn't stop him. Inside, the hospital administrator was already waiting in the lobby, looking flustered and professional and quickly thrown on business attire. Behind her were 2 lawyers and a handful of confused staff members. Mr. Chen, I'm Dr. Patricia Hughes. I oversee this facility. Your office said you wanted to discuss a patient. Jennifer Martinez. Her daughter is in your NICU. I want to know exactly what that child needs to survive, and I want her to get it. All of it, tonight. Dr. Hughes blinked. Sir, I'm not sure I understand. I've transferred $2 million to your hospital's account. My CFO can verify with your finance department. The baby gets whatever treatment she needs. The best specialist. The best equipment. No corners cut. No concerns about cost. Is that clear? The doctor's professional composure cracked slightly. Mr. Chen, that's extraordinarily generous, but I need to verify with the patient's family, and there are procedures. Then let's go talk to the family. Right now. They moved through the hospital corridors, a small procession of confused administrators and determined billionaire. Robert's heart was beating faster than normal. He realized he was nervous. When was the last time he'd been nervous? They reached the NICU floor. And there, sitting in a plastic chair in the empty hallway, was a young woman with her head in her hands. Robert recognized her immediately. Jennifer. She looked smaller than he remembered, more fragile, worn down by exhaustion and fear. She looked up at the sound of footsteps, her eyes red from crying, confused by the group of people approaching. Her gaze landed on Robert, and he could see her trying to place him, to understand what was happening. He walked toward her slowly, pulling out his phone, showing her the message she'd sent. I'm Robert Chen, he said quietly. I got your message, and I'm here to tell you something very important. Jennifer stared at him, not understanding, probably thinking this was some kind of mistake or dream. Your daughter is going to live, Robert said, and you're never going to worry about these bills again. I promise you that. Jennifer's face crumpled and she started to cry, the kind of crying that comes from a place beyond words, beyond rational thought, the kind of crying Robert's mother had done 40 years ago, but different. These were tears of relief instead of grief, and for the first time in a very long time, Robert Chen felt like his success actually meant something. Jennifer couldn't stop shaking. She stared at the man in the expensive suit standing in front of her, trying to make sense of what he'd just said. Your daughter is going to live. You're never going to worry about these bills again. It didn't feel real. Nothing about this felt real. I don't understand, she whispered. Her voice came out cracked and broken from hours of crying. I sent that message to the wrong person. I didn't mean to bother you. I was trying to reach someone else. Robert smiled slightly, and there was something sad in it. Sometimes the best things happen by accident. Dr. Hughes stepped forward, her tablet in hand. Ms. Martinez, Mr. Chen has made a very substantial donation to cover your daughter's medical care. We need to discuss the treatment plan immediately. May we go somewhere more private? Jennifer looked around at all the faces staring at her. Hospital administrators, lawyers in suits, nurses who'd come out to see what the commotion was about. She felt exposed, vulnerable, like she was standing naked in front of strangers. I need to see my daughter first, she said. I need to see Lily. Of course, Robert said. May I come with you? Jennifer didn't know how to say no to someone who'd just saved her child's life, so she nodded. They scrubbed in at the NICU entrance, putting on gowns and masks. Robert followed her lead, watching how she did everything, copying her movements. Inside the NICU, it was quiet except for the beeping of monitors and the whoosh of ventilators. Jennifer led him to the far corner where Lily's incubator sat. The baby looked even smaller under the harsh lights, her chest rising and falling with mechanical precision. She's beautiful, Robert said softly. Jennifer felt tears sliding down her face again. She was so tired of crying, but she couldn't seem to stop. She came too early, 6 weeks too early. The doctors said her lungs aren't developed enough. She needs special treatments, medications, monitoring. They said without it, she couldn't finish the sentence. Robert stood quietly beside her, looking at the tiny baby. He didn't say anything for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. I had a sister who was born premature. This was 40 years ago. My parents were immigrants, factory workers. They didn't have insurance or money. She lived for 6 days. Jennifer turned to look at him, seeing the pain in his eyes. I became successful so that no one in my family would ever feel that helpless again, Robert continued. But here's the thing about money. You can't go back and fix the past. You can't save people who are already gone. All you can do is try to stop it from happening to someone else. I don't know how to thank you, Jennifer whispered. I don't even know how I'll ever pay you back. You're not paying me back. This isn't a loan, but $2 million of his money I'll never miss. To you, it's your daughter's life. Those aren't the same thing, he paused. I spend more than this on company parties, on office renovations, on things that don't matter. This matters, a nurse approached them. Mr. Chen, Dr. Hughes would like you to meet with the medical team. We've assembled the specialists you requested. They moved to a conference room where a group of doctors waited. Dr. Raymond Chen, no relation to Robert but one of the top neonatal specialists in the country, stood at the head of the table. He'd been flown in by helicopter at Robert's request. Ms. Martinez, Dr. Chen said kindly, I've reviewed your daughter's charts. Her condition is serious but not hopeless. With proper treatment, I believe she has an excellent chance of full recovery, but she'll need to stay in intensive care for at least 6 more weeks, possibly 8. Jennifer's mind reeled. 6 to 8 more weeks of this. What kind of treatment? Dr. Chen explained in terms she could barely follow. Surfactant therapy for the lungs, continuous positive airway pressure, medications to prevent infection and support development, round-the-clock monitoring. Each item he listed sounded more expensive than the last. How much will all this cost? She asked, even though Robert had said not to worry about money. She needed to know. Needed to understand the weight of what he was giving her. The doctors exchanged glances. Dr. Hughes pulled up a spreadsheet on her tablet. With the level of care Dr. Chen is recommending, including the specialist consultations and advanced treatments, we're looking at approximately $350,000 total, possibly more if complications arise. Jennifer felt dizzy. $350,000. More money than she'd make in 10 years. Maybe 15 years. Then that's what it costs, Robert said simply. What's the timeline? When can we start these treatments? Immediately, Dr. Chen said. I'd like to begin the first round of surfactant therapy within the hour. We'll also be adjusting her ventilator settings and starting a new medication protocol. Robert turned to Jennifer. Is that okay with you? The question surprised her. He was the one paying for everything, but he was asking her permission. Yes, of course. Whatever she needs. The meeting continued. Doctors discussing details that went over Jennifer's head. She tried to focus, but exhaustion was pulling at her. She hadn't slept in almost 3 days. Hadn't eaten a real meal. Everything felt like it was happening through a fog. Finally, Robert stood. Gentleman, lady, thank you for coming in at this hour. Please begin treatment immediately. Ms. Martinez, could I speak with you privately for a moment? They stepped out into the hallway. It was almost 5 in the morning now. Through the windows, Jennifer could see the sky beginning to lighten at the edges. You need to rest, Robert said. When's the last time you slept? I can't sleep. Not while Lily's. The doctors are with her now. She's getting the best care available. And you're no good to her if you collapse from exhaustion. Jennifer knew he was right, but the thought of leaving this hallway felt impossible. I can't afford a hotel. I've been sleeping in the family room here when I can. Robert pulled out his phone. Patricia, I need you to book a suite at the Marriott across from St. Catherine's, under Jennifer Martinez's name. Open-ended reservation, all charges to my account, he paused. Also, have someone bring meals. 3 times a day. Whatever she wants. No, Jennifer said quickly. No, you've already done too much. I can't accept you're going to sleep. You're going to eat. You're going to take care of yourself so you can take care of your daughter. This isn't negotiable. There was something in his voice, a firmness that reminded Jennifer of her own father before he'd passed away. The tone that said he cared about her well-being and wasn't going to take no for an answer. Why are you doing this? She asked. And don't tell me it's just about your sister. You don't even know me. We met once for 5 minutes. Robert was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Do you know what it's like to have more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes? It's strange. You can buy anything, go anywhere, do anything, but none of it feels real. Nothing feels like it matters. He looked toward the NICU doors. But this right here, this matters. That little girl in there fighting for her life, she matters. You working 2 jobs trying to give her a better future, you matter. For once, my money can actually do something meaningful instead of just sitting in accounts or getting invested in more companies. Jennifer felt something shift in her chest. She'd spent so long thinking of rich people as different, as separate from her world. But Robert was just a person carrying his own pain, his own losses, trying to make sense of a world that had taken someone he loved. I sent that message to the wrong person, she said again. It was supposed to go to someone from work. I didn't even realize I'd selected your name. Maybe there are no wrong people, Robert said. Maybe you sent it to exactly who needed to see it. A nurse came out of the NICU. Ms. Martinez, we've started the treatment. Your daughter's responding well so far. The doctor says she's stable. Jennifer felt her knees go weak with relief. Robert caught her elbow, steadying her. Go to the hotel, he said gently. Sleep for a few hours. I'll stay here. If anything changes, anything at all, I'll call you immediately. I promise. You'll stay? Jennifer couldn't believe it. A billionaire staying in a hospital hallway to watch over her daughter. I'll stay. I have calls to make anyway, and I can work from anywhere. He smiled slightly. Besides, I want to make sure those doctors do everything right. Jennifer wanted to argue, to say she couldn't accept all this, but her body was betraying her. She could barely stand. Just a few hours. I'll come back after a few hours. Take as long as you need. The hotel was directly across the street, connected to the hospital by a covered walkway. The suite was bigger than Jennifer's entire apartment. There was a bedroom, a living room, a bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in. On the table sat bags of food still warm with a note that said, "Eat first, then sleep." Jennifer sat on the edge of the enormous bed and unwrapped a sandwich. She couldn't remember what it tasted like even as she swallowed. Her mind was still in that hallway, still watching Lily's chest rise and fall. But Robert was there. A stranger who'd become something else, she wasn't sure what. A guardian angel? That seemed too simple. He was just a man who'd lost someone and didn't want anyone else to feel that pain. She finished eating and lay back on the bed, still in her clothes. She'd just rest her eyes for a minute. Just a minute. She fell asleep within seconds, and for the first time in 3 days she didn't dream of hospital machines or impossible bills. She dreamed of Lily, healthy and whole, laughing in the sunshine. Across the street, Robert sat in that plastic chair, watching through the NICU window as doctors worked around the tiny incubator. His phone rang constantly with business calls he ignored. Patricia sent urgent messages about meetings he was missing. None of it mattered. For the first time in 40 years, he felt like he was in the right place at the right time, and maybe, just maybe, he was finally doing something his sister would be proud of. Jennifer woke up disoriented, sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment she panicked, not remembering where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The hospital. The message. Robert Chen. The $2 million. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand. She'd slept for 6 hours straight. 6 hours away from Lily. Her heart hammered as she checked for missed calls. There was one message from an unknown number. Ms. Martinez, this is Robert. Lily is doing well. The treatments are working better than expected. Her oxygen levels have improved. Take your time. She's in good hands. Jennifer read it 3 times, relief washing over her. Then she noticed the timestamp. He'd sent it 4 hours ago, right after she'd fallen asleep. He'd been checking on Lily, making sure she was okay, letting Jennifer rest. She showered quickly, put on the same clothes she'd been wearing for days, and hurried back across the walkway to the hospital. She found Robert exactly where she'd left him, sitting in that plastic chair in the hallway. He had his laptop open, talking quietly on the phone. When he saw her, he ended the call. You're back already. I hoped you'd sleep longer. 6 hours is more than I've gotten all week. Jennifer looked toward the NICU doors. Can I see her? Of course. The morning nurse said you could go in any time. Inside the NICU, Jennifer could immediately see the difference. Lily's color looked better, less gray. The monitor showed stronger numbers. A nurse was adjusting an IV, and she smiled when she saw Jennifer. She's doing remarkably well. Dr. Chen was just here. He's very pleased with her progress. Jennifer stood by the incubator, gently placing her hand against the warm plastic. Hey, baby girl. Mommy's here. You're being so strong. She stayed there for an hour, just watching, talking softly to Lily, feeling like maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. When she came back out, Robert was still there, but now he had company. A woman in a business suit sat next to him, showing him something on a tablet. Jennifer, Robert said, standing up. This is Patricia, my assistant. She's been helping coordinate things. Patricia smiled warmly. It's good to meet you, Ms. Martinez. I hope the hotel suite was comfortable. It was too much. All of this is too much. Nonsense, Patricia said. Mr. Chen wanted to make sure you had everything you needed. Over the next 2 weeks, Jennifer fell into a strange new routine. She'd spend mornings with Lily, Watching as the baby grew stronger each day, the tubes started coming off one by one. First the feeding tube, then the oxygen support reduced. The doctors were amazed at how quickly she was improving. Robert came by every day, usually in the mornings before his business meetings. Sometimes he'd sit with Jennifer in the hallway, working on his laptop while she read or dozed. Other times he'd just check in briefly, ask how Lily was doing, then disappear to run his empire. Jennifer tried repeatedly to talk about money, about paying him back, about setting up some kind of payment plan. Every time Robert shut the conversation down. "We're not discussing this," he'd say firmly. "Focus on your daughter." But Jennifer couldn't stop thinking about it. The debt weighed on her like a physical thing. Not a legal debt, but a moral one. How did you repay someone for saving your child's? One afternoon, Robert arrived later than usual. He looked tired, stressed in a way Jennifer hadn't seen before. He sat down heavily in the chair next to her. "Rough day?" she asked. He laughed without humor. "You could say that. We're in the middle of acquiring another company. The negotiations aren't going well." Jennifer didn't know anything about business acquisitions, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. "Want to talk about it?" "Not really." He rubbed his eyes. "Can I see Lily?" They went into the NICU together. It had become their routine, this quiet visit where Robert would stand by the incubator and just look at the baby. He never tried to touch her or hold her, just looked. "She's gotten bigger," he said. "She's almost 4 pounds now, right?" 4 pounds, 2 ounces as of this morning. Robert smiled, and some of the stress seemed to leave his face. 4 pounds, 2 ounces. That's more than my sister ever weighed. They stood there in silence for a while. Then Robert said quietly, "Do you know what I've been thinking about? For 40 years I've been angry at the world for taking my sister, angry at the hospital for not doing more, angry at my parents for not having money, angry at myself for being too young to help. All that anger drove me to succeed, but it never went away. It just sat there, festering." He looked at Jennifer. "But watching Lily get better, seeing her fight and win, it's like something's shifting. I can't save my sister, I can't go back and fix what happened. But I can be here now, and that has to be enough." Jennifer felt tears welling up. "You saved my daughter's life. That's more than enough." "I think you're wrong about that," Robert said. "I think maybe she saved mine too." As the days passed, Robert started asking Jennifer questions about her life, not in a nosy way, but genuinely curious. He wanted to know about her childhood, her dreams, what she'd planned to do before Lily came early. "I was in nursing school," Jennifer told him one afternoon. They were in the hospital cafeteria having coffee. Robert had insisted she eat regular meals, and he often joined her. "I was 2 semesters away from graduating when I got pregnant. My ex-husband David, he said we could manage it, that he'd support us while I finished school. But he left. He left when I was 5 months along, said he couldn't handle the pressure." Jennifer stirred her coffee, not looking up. "I tried to keep going to school. But between morning sickness and working to pay rent, I fell behind. Then I couldn't afford tuition, so I dropped out." "Do you still want to be a nurse?" The question surprised her. No one had asked her that in a long time. "I don't know. It feels impossible now. I've got Lily to take care of, bills to pay even after you've helped with the medical stuff. I'm barely keeping my head above water as it is." Robert was quiet for a moment. "What if it wasn't impossible?" "What do you mean?" "What if you could go back to school, finish your degree?" Jennifer laughed, but it came out bitter. "With what money? What time? I'll need to work even more hours now to afford daycare for Lily when she's healthy enough to leave the hospital. What if those weren't obstacles?" Jennifer looked at him, really looked at him. "Robert, you've already done too much. I can't ask for anything else." "You're not asking. I'm offering." He leaned forward. "I've been thinking about this a lot. You're smart. You're dedicated. You would make an excellent nurse, but you got derailed by circumstances beyond your control. A bad partner. Bad luck. A system that punishes people for being poor. That's just life." Jennifer said quietly. It doesn't have to be. Robert pulled out his phone and opened a note he'd been writing. I've done some research. Your nursing school has a program for students who had to leave. You could re-enroll for the spring semester. That gives you 3 months. By then, Lily should be home and healthy. I can't afford. I'll cover tuition. And I own a medical technology company that contracts with hospitals. We have a scholarship program for nursing students. You'd qualify. Full tuition, plus a stipend for living expenses. Jennifer shook her head. You can't just keep giving me money. It's not charity, it's an investment. In 5 years, you'll be a nurse. You'll be helping other people, other families going through what you went through. You'll be making the healthcare system a little bit better. That's worth investing in. But the daycare costs alone. My company has an on-site daycare for employees. High quality, affordable. You could bring Lily with you when you do your clinical rotations at our partner hospitals. Jennifer felt overwhelmed. It was too much, too generous, too perfect. Why are you doing all this? Robert was quiet for a long moment. When I made my first $1 million, I thought I'd feel different. Like I'd finally escaped the poverty my family lived in. But I didn't. I just felt empty. Every million after that, same thing, empty. I kept thinking maybe the next deal, the next acquisition, the next billion, maybe that would fill the hole. He looked at her directly. But helping you, helping Lily, this feels different. For the first time in my life, my money is doing something that actually matters. Not building another office building or buying another company. It's giving someone a real chance at a better life. Jennifer didn't know what to say. She thought about her ex-husband who'd abandoned her when things got hard. About all the people who'd expressed sympathy but offered no real help. About a system that let babies die because their parents couldn't pay. And here was Robert, a stranger really, offering her not just money, but hope. A future. I have one condition, Robert said. When you're a nurse, when you're established and successful, I want you to help someone else the way I'm helping you. Not with money necessarily, but with kindness, with belief, with a chance. That's it? That's all you want? That's all I want. Pass it forward. Jennifer felt tears streaming down her face. I don't know how to thank you. Then don't. Just promise me you'll finish school. Promise me you'll become the nurse you were meant to be. Promise me you'll help others when you can. I promise, Jennifer whispered. They sat in the cafeteria for a long time, not talking, just drinking coffee and thinking about second chances and the strange ways life brings people together. Outside the window, the sun was setting over the city. And down the hall in the NICU, Lily slept peacefully, growing stronger every day, surrounded by machines that kept her alive, paid for by a man who'd lost his sister 40 years ago and never forgot what it felt like to be helpless. Sometimes miracles come from tragedy. Sometimes the worst moments of our lives plant seeds for the best moments in someone else's. And sometimes, just sometimes, a message sent to the wrong person turns out to be exactly right. 6 weeks after that desperate message in the middle of the night, Jennifer stood in the NICU holding her daughter for the first time without any tubes or wires attached. Lily was finally breathing completely on her own. 5 pounds, 8 ounces of pure miracle. She's ready to go home, Dr. Chen said, smiling. I've seen a lot of premature babies in my career, but Lily's recovery has been exceptional. The treatments worked better than we could have hoped. Jennifer held Lily close, feeling the warmth of her, the steady rise and fall of her chest. I still can't believe she's okay. More than okay, she's thriving. Dr. Chen made a note on his tablet. You'll need to bring her back for regular checkups, but I expect her to develop normally. She's a fighter, this one. Robert was waiting in the hallway when Jennifer emerged. He'd been there almost every day for 6 weeks, watching Lily's progress like she was his own grandchild. When he saw Jennifer carrying the baby, his face lit up. She's coming home? She's coming home. Jennifer felt tears running down her face, but they were happy tears this time. So different from the desperate, terrified tears she'd cried in this same hallway weeks ago. Robert stepped closer, looking at Lily's face. The baby's eyes were open, dark and alert, taking in the world around her. "Hello, little one. You gave us quite a scare, didn't you?" As if in response, Lily yawned, her tiny mouth opening wide. Robert laughed, a genuine sound of joy that Jennifer had rarely heard from him. For all his success and confidence, there was something about Lily that softened him, made him seem more human. "I have something for you," Robert said. "For both of you, actually. Can you come to my office tomorrow? There are some things we need to discuss." Jennifer felt a flutter of nervousness. "Is something wrong?" "No, nothing wrong. I promise. Just some details to finalize." The next day, Patricia picked up Jennifer and Lily in a car and drove them to Robert's office building downtown. Jennifer had never been anywhere like it. Glass and steel stretching into the sky, marble floors in the lobby, people in expensive suits rushing past with important expressions. They took a private elevator to the top floor. Robert's office was enormous, with those floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. But what caught Jennifer's attention was the bassinet set up in the corner, complete with blankets and toys. "I thought Lily might need a comfortable place to sleep while we talk," Robert said. "Patricia's daughter has a baby, so she helped me pick everything out." Jennifer settled Lily into the bassinet, marveling at how thoughtful it was. Then she sat across from Robert's desk, feeling small in the massive leather chair. Robert pushed a folder across the desk toward her. "I need you to look at these papers." Jennifer opened the folder, her heart pounding. Inside were documents, legal papers with dense text she didn't fully understand. But certain phrases jumped out at her. Full scholarship, spring semester enrollment, living stipend. "Childcare services, this is real?" she whispered. "You're really doing this?" "It's all arranged. You start classes in January. That gives you 3 months to settle in with Lily. Make sure she's healthy and stable. The scholarship covers full tuition for the remaining 2 semesters of your nursing program, plus books and supplies. The stipend should cover your rent and living expenses." Jennifer couldn't speak. She just stared at the papers, reading them over and over. "There's more," Robert said. He pulled out another document. "This is a trust fund for Lily, $1 million invested conservatively. She can't touch it until she's 18. And it's specifically designated for education, college, trade school, whatever she chooses. She'll never have to worry about paying for her future." $1 million, Jennifer breathed. "That's too much. It's invested. It'll grow. By the time she's 18, it'll be worth considerably more. And before you argue, this isn't up for discussion. It's done. The money's already in the trust." Jennifer put her face in her hands. "I don't know what to say. I don't know how to process any of this." Robert stood and walked over to the window, looking out at the city. "Do you know what I've learned over the past 6 weeks? I've learned that money is just paper and numbers until you use it for something meaningful. I could buy another yacht, another vacation home, another company, but none of that would change anything. None of that would matter." He turned back to face her. "But giving you a chance to finish your education, giving Lily a secure future, that matters. That changes lives. Not just yours and hers, but all the people you'll help as a nurse, all the families you'll care for." The ripples go on and on. "I want to pay you back someday," Jennifer said. "When I'm working, when I have money." "No." Robert's voice was firm but not unkind. "You're not paying me back. You're paying it forward. Remember our deal? When you're established, when you're successful, you help someone else. That's how you repay me. By being the person who gives someone else a chance when they need it most." Jennifer wiped her eyes. "I promise I will. I swear it, I know you will. I've seen who you are these past weeks. You're strong. You're dedicated. You love your daughter with everything you have. The world needs more nurses like you're going to be." There was a soft knock on the door. Patricia entered with a large shopping bag. "Sorry to interrupt, but I have those items you requested." Robert took the bag and handed it to Jennifer. "One more thing. Just some practical stuff. Baby supplies, clothes, diapers. Patricia has 3 kids, so she knows what you'll actually need. Nothing fancy, just helpful." Jennifer peeked in the bag. It was full of essentials, things she'd been worrying about how to afford. "Thank you," she said, her voice breaking. "Thank you for everything." Over the next few months, Jennifer's life transformed in ways she'd never imagined possible. She moved into a small but comfortable apartment, one she could actually afford with the stipend. She enrolled in classes and discovered that she still loved nursing, still wanted to help people heal, Lily grew bigger and stronger every day. No lasting effects from her premature birth. She hit all her milestones on time. She was a happy baby, quick to smile, and Jennifer fell more in love with her every single day. Robert kept in touch, but not in an overbearing way. He'd text once a week to check in, see how Lily was doing, ask how classes were going. Sometimes he'd stop by with coffee and sit with Jennifer while she studied, working on his laptop in comfortable silence. "You don't have to keep checking on us," Jennifer told him one afternoon. "I know you're busy." "I'm always busy," Robert said. "But this is important to me." "You're important to me. Lily's important to me." "Why, though?" "I still don't fully understand. We're not family. We barely knew each other before all this." Robert was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. "For 40 years, I've been trying to make peace with losing my sister. I threw myself into work, into building something, into proving I was worth something. But none of it filled the hole she left behind." He looked at Lily, who was sleeping peacefully in her crib. "Helping you, watching Lily survive and thrive, it's given me something I didn't know I was missing. Purpose. Real purpose. Not just making money or closing deals, but actually making a difference in someone's life." "You've made all the difference in ours," Jennifer said softly. 2 years later, Jennifer walked across the stage in her cap and gown, receiving her nursing degree. Robert sat in the audience next to Patricia, both of them cheering loudly. Lily, now a healthy, active 2-year-old, sat on Robert's lap, clapping her hands even though she didn't understand what was happening. After the ceremony, they took photos together. Jennifer in her graduation gown, holding her diploma, with Lily on her hip and Robert standing beside them, smiling wider than Jennifer had ever seen him smile. "I'm so proud of you," Robert said. "You did it." "We did it," Jennifer corrected. "None of this would have happened without you. You did the hard part. You showed up every day. You studied. You worked. You raised Lily. You earned this." Jennifer started her first nursing job the following month at the hospital where Robert's company contracted services. It felt right, coming full circle to where this all began. She worked in the NICU, caring for premature babies and their terrified parents. Every time she saw a parent sitting in that hallway scared and alone, she remembered what it felt like. And she made sure to sit with them, to listen, to offer not just medical care but human kindness. She couldn't give them millions of dollars. She couldn't solve all their problems. But she could be present. She could care. She could help carry their burden, even if just for a moment. One night, 3 years after that desperate message, Jennifer was working a late shift when she got a text from Robert. It was a photo of him at a charity gala, shaking hands with someone. The caption read, "Just donated to 3 more nursing scholarships. Paying it forward in your honor." Jennifer smiled, tears in her eyes. She typed back, "You're impossible. But thank you. For everything." His response came immediately. "Thank you for letting me be part of your story. You and Lily gave my life meaning again. That's worth more than any amount of money." Jennifer looked through the NICU window at the babies fighting for life, just like Lily had, just like Robert's sister had. Some would make it, some wouldn't. But she was here now, doing everything she could to tip the odds in their favor. She thought about that night, sitting in the hospital hallway, sending desperate messages to anyone who might help. She'd sent it to the wrong person, or maybe, just maybe, she'd sent it to exactly the right person. Sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways. Sometimes our mistakes become our miracles. Sometimes a wrong number changes everything. And sometimes, when we're at our lowest point, when we've lost all hope, that's when help arrives from the most unexpected places. Jennifer touched the small photo she kept in her pocket. Lily's first picture taken in the NICU, surrounded by machines and tubes. She carried it always, a reminder of where they'd been and how far they'd come. A reminder that miracles are real, and that sometimes they come dressed in expensive suits carrying laptops and broken hearts, looking for a way to heal old wounds by preventing new ones. Jennifer went back to work, checking on her tiny patients, talking to worried parents, being the nurse she'd always dreamed of becoming. And somewhere across the city, in a penthouse office, Robert looked at a photo on his desk. Jennifer and Lily, both smiling, both healthy, both thriving. He'd saved them, but the truth was they'd saved him too.